Okay, and now we're moving into the first panel of the session. We are going to talk to a couple of exciting startups who are moving to becoming more driven by AI, where AI is becoming more and more central to your operation. So I would like to invite to the stage my colleague Tambi, who's going to moderate the panel, together with Andrew Lala, who's the CEO of Ignitia, and also Ayoola Domonic, CEO of Koolboks. Over to you.
Thanks, Angelique. Sorry. Thanks, Andrew and Ayoola, for joining us today. So that's going to be a hard act to follow, Charlotte and Beryl. But after hearing about a couple of really exciting AI-led innovations, we'd like to move on to talking to two established tech-for-good companies who have been doing this for a while now, and have only of late started sort of shifting to a more AI-centric model. So maybe we can start with Andrew. Andrew Lala is the CEO of Ignitia. It's a climate and weather intelligence company, originally based out of Sweden, but you started off work first in West Africa and are now expanded to most of the African continent, but also now in LATAM and Southeast Asia. So Andrew, it'll be great to maybe kick off with hearing a bit more about what Ignitia does and different ways in which you have integrated AI into your solutions.
Yeah, thanks. And I think just starting about Ignitia, the company was founded by scientists back in the good old days of 2010, when to do weather forecasting, you'd have to do numerical modeling. This was physicists, mathematicians, people who understood the physics that governed the tropics. And so what they recognized is you have a data problem. We heard about this before. There's not a lot of observation data in much of the world outside of Europe and North America and parts of southern China, or China, for example. And so how do you fill that gap? So it actually took us 5 years of R&D to develop the first tropical weather model that could outperform all of the global models that are based in the US or Europe, and particularly focusing on tropical storms that are so prevalent in places like West Africa or Indonesia or Kenya or Brazil. So that was the good old days. And back in 2017, we started playing with AI. And I think GSMA, it's a similar year. I don't know what was going on in 2017. Something was in the water. But we started experimenting with it, hired our first AI engineer, started looking at, are there ways for us to use this, or is it a big nothing burger? And it's going to go the way of blockchain. No, I don't want to get into that controversy. No, just kidding. But no, is there a there? And we found that there was. It was something where instead of us going really deep country by country, because we just focused on Ghana, and so we were looking at satellite data partners, Met agency partners, gathering as much real-time observation data as we could. This is rain gauge data, wind data, all the things we need to build a good model. And this has really enabled us to do geographic expansion faster. It's enabled us to really focus on microclimates, the real issues of weather forecasting. And it's been able to enabled us to look at extreme weather events in a way that we haven't really been able to. So if you look at things like rapidly moving storms that seem chaotic, those are really hard to model just using traditional high-resolution numerical forecasting with ensemble members. So AI has enabled our team to basically expand quicker, expand into new types of weather forecasting modeling that can turn into new products, and do it cheaper. And I think some of the things we'll probably talk about in a little bit, but things like chatbots, how the user actually engages with the content you're providing is incredibly important. I'll give one example just because it's top of mind and it is kind of a reflection on digital green, which I hope we'll get to work with. I know I saw you in Nairobi a couple weeks ago. Is basically you can come up with some great content and then you ask a farmer and say, okay, the chance of rain today is 80%. When you ask farmers to interpret that, you're going to get a lot of different answers. And one of the answers that's most common, because statistics isn't always intuitive, is conflating chance of rain and the intensity of the rainfall. And so 80% to a typical smallholder farmer in Kenya means that it will rain absolutely, and it's going to be heavy. And so there you have a real opportunity. We used to do it in the good old-fashioned days of human-centered design. You go, you talk to farmers, you iterate the content, you understand, did you understand what I just said in the way that I want it to be interpreted? Did you change your behavior in that way? Yes, no? And so what this is enabling us to do is get beyond and iterate beyond local language. We provide our messages through telcos in a variety of languages. We've moved to WhatsApp, we've moved to different channels, but it's been another tool for us to focus on the delivery, last mile delivery of this kind of weather forecast intelligence.
Thank you. We also have Ayoola Domonic, who is the founder of Koolboks. It's a solar-powered refrigeration solution based in Kenya, Nigeria, and Uganda. You started off in Lagos, Nigeria. So Ayoola, I think for you, you've been integrating AI in a very different way from what Andrew has been. It's more sort of intrinsically, it's more at the back end. So can you tell us a bit more about what Koolboks does and how you have been working with AI?
Thank you very much. Just to give a quick context of who we are. You have over 600 million people in sub-Saharan Africa. Some might have heard this in the morning. I'll have to take it again because I was in the session in the morning. So we have over 600 million people in sub-Saharan Africa that lacks access to electricity and therefore lacks access to refrigeration. And you'll be shocked to know that as compared to Europe and America, where you have 100% penetration in refrigeration, in sub-Saharan Africa, it's only 17% penetration of refrigeration. I repeat, only 17 out of 100 people have access to refrigeration. And we've been hearing a whole lot about, let's light up Africa, let's light up the world, but very few times do you hear about, let's refrigerate Africa, let's curb food security, let's curb food wastage. And that's the problem Koolboks is trying to solve. So about 2.5 years ago, myself and my co-founder set up a company with a mission, which we believe is stronger than a vision, to make refrigeration affordable and accessible to everyone that needs it. And of course, how did we do this? We used the sun and the water, which is extremely abundant in Africa. We created a solution that is able to generate refrigeration for up to 4 days, whether or not you have power, whether or not you have sunlight. And I'm sure you're wondering, how did you do this? So we're able to store energy in the form of ice, as opposed to just storing energy in the form of batteries. Now, the big question, and why we're here, of course, is what good is an innovation or technology if no one can afford it? So we integrated in our solution an IoT technology, which enables individuals to be able to pay in small monthly, weekly, or daily installments for their refrigerators. So thanks to that IoT technology, connectivity, remote sensoring, today customers or small businesses and individuals are able to pay as low as $10 to $15 to own a solar refrigerator in sub-Saharan Africa. So that's the problem we're solving. And as regards how have we been able to incorporate AI into what we're doing today, thanks to AI IoT, we're able to get a lot of data. One basic use is credit scoring. Most of our customers are informal customers. They are small businesses that require refrigeration for income generation. These are people that data doesn't really exist for them. So what we've been able to do through machine learning, we're able to predict the credit score of these customers, and that's where our first point of AI comes in. So I am Amai Badon from Ethiopia, and I can easily, with my number and a few other data metrics, tell you whether or not you're going to be a defaulting customer or you're going to be a good customer. So that's number one. Secondly, in terms of predictive maintenance, now, we've got frozen food all over Africa. We have pockets of frozen food everywhere. And our customers are mid-age, 55 years old woman, probably with a predisposed condition of hypertension, perhaps. And then her freezer shuts down in the middle of nowhere. And then we're here in Lagos, or we're in Abidjan, or we're in Kampala, and then we have to get to the village. there's absolutely a need to be able to remotely troubleshoot for us to make that woman at heart at peace. So definitely, and that is where predictive maintenance comes in, where we are able to understand, even before it happens, that we need to move. And thanks to conversations around that, I've heard about weather forecasting. So Koolboks tomorrow is thinking of being able to send messages to customers to warn them of prevailing weather conditions that would enable them to store their energy in a better format so as to prevent spoilage of their refrigerated goods. So that's the second part. And of course, thanks to the data we collect, today, we understand the energy consumption of the refrigerator through IoT. We understand the billing of the customers through IoT. We know when the customers open their refrigerators. And the good thing about that is it gives us enough opportunity to be able to know when the freezer is going to shut down to allow us to prevent such occurrence in the future. And of course, one thing that I'm really passionate about, which most of our investors are excited about, is our ability to turn variable costs into fixed costs through chatbots like Greenly, as opposed to having to have thousands of customer service agents. Through AI, we're able to reduce labor costs. And of course, as opposed to when we have sales, we need to hire more customer service agents. We're able to leverage on chatbots like that of Greenly platform to be able to get the best out of our solution. So that's how we've been seeing AI so far. And yeah, I hope it answers your question.
Yes. More than answered. Thank you very much. So when we talk about creating sustainable impact, a key focus of that is sort of scaling, being able to scale that impact. And at the GSMA, we do work with startups, and there are a few avenues we look at in terms of scaling that impact. So one is adding some value to the existing solution, so it's able to create value for the customers, or sort of expanding the solution that you're offering, so it's able to reach more customers, or finally just replicating it across newer geographies. So I know that both of you already have some partnerships with MNOs. I know Orange is a common factor for both of you, but also others like MTN and Telefonica. And one of the key advantages of that partnership is leveraging the delivery channels to scale your impact. So could we perhaps think of AI as being a similar driver, and the power that it has to sort of scale impact in different ways? So maybe we can start with Ayoola again, and if you could reflect a bit on how you think AI can play a role for you to understand your customers a bit better. You mentioned that they are mainly in the informal segment, and not a lot of data is available to understand the behaviors and the trends of these customers. So could you, it will be great to reflect on that a bit.
Yeah, thank you very much. I mean, through the data, we're able to, first of all, with our partnership with Orange, it gives us access to, I mean, we know that most consumers in sub-Saharan Africa have access to mobile phones. We see that from the data. And the good thing is they, one way or the other, interact with mobile operators. We, Koolboks, we've been successful at integrating IoT technology into refrigerators. And we're leveraging on Orange network to be able to do that across sub-Saharan Africa. And the good thing about it is it gives us access to customers that ordinarily would not have had access to in those areas. And we think that the challenge of solving food wastage and, of course, food security is going to be solved by bringing it to that last person at that corner of the world. And that's what we're doing at Orange. So in terms of data collection and the opportunity we get to see with AI with our customers, I think the most important for us as well is the ability to be able to matchmake through AI. So we have us bringing our customers online, Mama Ibadan or Mama, whatever we call her, who is a mom and pet store next door. The fact that we are able to connect her with a fish farmer who can obviously pick up the goods and uptake and then sell, that is what we're using AI to do through a third party. And that is very big for us in terms of ensuring that we're helping them to generate revenue so that they can actually be sustainable and, of course, continue patronizing us. Yeah.
That's fantastic, really stretching that impact to the last mile. And I think for Andrew, it's just more maybe applicable, the third avenue that I talked about in terms of how you're able to replicate your solution. And what role has AI played or integrating AI played in you sort of expanding your footprint to different regions?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's the aspect of improving the accuracy of the model. So because we had done, we started in Ghana because it is the hardest place to forecast basically tropical storms. And so we have 10 years of data on that type of storm system that's very, very common in other parts of West Africa and Southeast Asia and Latin America. So we talk a lot, I think even in the previous lightning talks, how important data quality is. So there isn't going to be a shortcut for that. If you're training models, you have to have really high quality data that's at the same resolution. You can't take a 100-kilometer grid data set and then just interpolate it down to 9 kilometers and just say, there you go, fixed it. No, it's going to come back with garbage in, garbage out results. So part of the AI has really been about focusing on those microclimates and improving the accuracy. And what we found is even when we apply the models we trained in West Africa to East Africa, they actually outperformed the models in West Africa. Then we took that model from East Africa, applied it to Brazil. Oh, what's going on here? So our science team and our AI team was able to get an even better understanding of these storm systems in that kind of feedback. I know people talk about AI just being a black box, but sometimes it can reveal very interesting patterns of common features, even with natural phenomenon like a severe storm. And then the other aspect of driving down the cost in the distribution side. So, you know, we're kind of channel agnostic. We go wherever smallholder farmers. We started with farming because farming's a weather business. It's over 90% of agriculture is rain-fed. Livelihoods are made or destroyed based on the rainfall patterns. And what we're seeing with climate change is historical patterns that are used by large research institutes are becoming less predictive. So you can't go back in historical analogs for pest and disease or yield models and say, oh, yep, this looks like 1974 El Nino, let's apply that for, no, it's not working as well anymore. It's because of climate change. There's more extreme events. So you can't use historical data in the same way that you could previously with a warming planet. So on the, so copy pasting, but then also on the distribution side like chatbots. And I think that point is, we are not 100% there on the, I think it's still in our DNA to really talk to farmers and understand that, and just understand what they need. And I think that's enabled us to ask better questions of what is the role of AI in this and what type of advisory is most important. When we work with a fertilizer company, it's not helping us resolve their business challenge. When we work with a irrigation company, it's not helping us to articulate that. So we still have to do the work of understanding what problems we're solving with AI and then asking ourselves, is it better to do this in a conversation with a farmer, or is it better for us just to try to have the chatbot figure it out for us? I think there's certain instances where we'd really want to step back and consider both alternatives, because right now, like the horror story would be you just use generative AI to say, there's a flash flood coming, run for your lives. No, like this could do harm, especially with weather alerts. So we do want to be careful when we're thinking about what something may hallucinate and communicate to hundreds of thousands of people.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's been echoed in quite a lot of sessions that we have been seeing at MWC, that context is important and doing that homework to understand what you need to solve is very important. So switching a bit and maybe moving towards the ecosystem, in order to do a lot of these wonderful things with AI, I think access to funding is a very big component. And I have attended 2 or 3 sessions in the last 2 days that look at sort of funding for AI, investing for AI, and understanding how the perception of investors towards AI companies has been changing in the last couple of years. So I'm curious to hear what it's like in the tech for development space. So maybe I can start with you, Andrew, and hear a bit more about how you think perceptions of investors have changed towards Ignitia in the last few years since you've started marketing yourself as being like an AI-led company, and do you also think it's done some good things in terms of opening up new avenues of funding maybe?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's helped to have a more balanced view because we've been applying it for so long. We can say where it hasn't helped us and maybe led us down a rabbit hole. And so it's helped us have more honest kind of and open conversations with potential funding partners. We're in between our Series A and Series B, so a lot of conversations we're having really revolve around, okay, is it about using AI to drive down the cost of expansion? Is it about moving into, you were talking about like credit risk. This is a big area, right? If you're sitting on a lot of data sets, there's a lot of new insights you can use for banks, insurance, all sorts of industries. So I think for us, it's definitely become a buzz, but just like any topic, there's usually a wave of interest. We do our best to encourage competition among the solutions, and then the ones that are adding value will remain and get funded, and the ones that won't will go on to the next. I mean, it's just the natural cycle of things. And I see AI doing that. I'm personally not of the camp that, I've heard, oh, there's two types of AI, or there's two types of companies that use AI. There's the ones that use it in everything, and then there's the ones that go bankrupt. I don't really believe in that. I think there'll still be some in between, but that's just our perspective.
Thanks. And Ayoola, I know you're slightly earlier in your funding journey, and I think when you were discussing the panel yesterday, and you talked about how there's this sort of unsaid pressure that startups are facing almost to talk about AI when they're pitching to investors. So can you tell us a bit more about your funding journey, and has that been the case for you?
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, so funding journey, well, we're closing around about $33 million, hopefully to scale the business in Sub-Saharan Africa. And initially we had a $4 million round, which of course with debt was about $7 million. So we're hoping to scale massively. The challenge has always been, one, the technology behind the scale, right? So of course we do get that pressure from, I mean, that's what people want to see now on slides. You want to see those dots, those data, and those data points, and then explanations of why and how you think you can generate revenue from the new kind of data sets that you're getting. But clearly, in actual fact, there's real value in AI. So you just have to think deeply, and in our context, looking at the peculiar customers that we have, and if truly we want AI benefits to trickle to those customers, we, as providers of the technology, we need to be extremely innovative. That means even without funding, we should look for platforms that can enable us reach these people using AI technology. I mean, that for us is key, because obviously we cannot build this technology at the same time. It's pretty expensive. So the main challenge we keep facing with investors is the balance of how much you need to invest in this type of technology to facilitate the scale. And of course, for example, in our case, we generate a revenue of $2.5 million, and then you're looking at spending approximately $600,000 to build a system like that. So there's a whole lot of questions, a lot of convincing that needs to be done at that level. So for us, in the beginning, it obviously would make a lot of sense to have partnerships with third-party AI companies, like Ignitia, like Greenly, and Amini, exactly to scale, and then with time we can then build our own proper backend. So to answer your question, yes, we get a lot of pressure, but I think it's good pressure because really we think that AI is the next electricity, and we should tap into it to be able to get benefits to our end user customers. Yeah.
Thank you. That's a very hopeful note on which to come towards the end of the panel. And actually, you've set us up really well in the sense that funding is one component of what you need, but there's also a lot of talk about how there needs to be an enabling ecosystem around it to support AI innovations. So maybe just to end the panel, we don't have a lot of time left, but could you reflect a bit on, given what your vision is for AI for your respective companies, what are the kinds of, what are the areas of support that you have in mind going forward, or how do you think you'll best benefit from having a collaborative ecosystem around you to support you?
I'll go
Do you want Ayoola? Okay.
Sure, no, it's okay. I mean, there has to be one thing, like we work with a lot of different telcos, there has to be competitive pricing around SMS and data packages. This is a real limiting factor for us to be able to provide affordable services. You know, in Francophone West Africa, sometimes even sending an SMS is like 5 to 10 times the price of sending it in Nigeria, which is ludicrous. So why would I pass that on to a smallholder farmer that's farming on the same size land and has the same basic income? So there's some issues around competitiveness in the telco sector, issues around making sure there's harmonized GDPR data protection standards. I think with the ecosystem, like we also need more technical assistance from our funding partners and other partners around big data. If you're trying to crunch like 24 terabytes of data every 10 minutes because there's a storm a-coming, we need to think critically so our systems don't crash. There's been partners like Microsoft for Startups, which we're a part of, that give great Azure credits to us, and that has helped accelerate our R&D, but we wouldn't have been able to carry that budget on our, you know, on our own, you know, because, okay, you're hiring a bunch of data scientists, you're hiring a bunch of AI engineers, like, go, but when's the payback going to happen then, right? That's the question. So a lot of these can help the ecosystem to help more, you know, startups like ours.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, just to drop back and follow on what he said, today we are peculiar customers, right? So, I mean, the average income is about $100 a month, $200, $300 a month. And then you have AWS platform that costs, you know, dollars or so to pay. So when you look at this, it's a bit challenging if you really want to make tech for good. So we definitely need subsidies, we need TAs, we need support to be able to make this happen. And I heard this in the morning. I mean, a lot of investors are in this for financial sustainability. And if you are not able to show that, there'll be no interest. I think one of the panelists that said that in the morning, there'll be no interest for them to invest. So definitely this calls for, I mean, more opportunities to pilot. For example, we're planning to scale up. We'll make a lot of mistakes. We're going to fall, we're going to stand, we're going to fall again and again. And then we need support like that of the GSMA, for example, to pilot. I think I was talking to, even at scale, it's not just for early stage, right? I mean, we need TAs, we need pilot supports to iterate so that we can scale properly. Because today we have an intention to scale, but then maybe we're wrong, you know? So these are things that we need to actually, opportunities that would really appreciate to support the next phase of growth for our kind of startups. Yeah.
Thank you both for being so candid, and I think we have a couple of minutes to take some questions. Yeah, Vade.
Thank you both. Very insightful. Andrew, a question for you, actually. I think I heard earlier from maybe someone in your team that you have about 2.7 million subscribers and customers. I think you've got, 89% driving terms of behavior change. So I saw those numbers and I was very impressed by that. And I guess I just wanted to understand sort of what's driving, how are you getting such a success in terms of behavior change with your smallholder farmers?
Yeah, so there's two aspects. Like one is basically honing in on the weather-related dependencies. So when does a farmer make a decision about going to the farm? Is it the night before, or is it at 5 o'clock in the morning? So how do I get a message to that farmer before 5 o'clock in the morning? What decision are they making first? Is do I go to the farm or do they not go to the farm? You do these diaries and you just learn really deep insights of the decision making. And this is that human-centered design aspect. We really get to know who is using what type of data and how to package that data in a way that makes a lot of sense. So we don't say 80% chance of rain anymore in East Africa. We will say, we'll always provide a narrative description to help them when to plant, when to sow, when to apply inputs, when to harvest, all with the idea of, is there research backing up that it's going to maximize yield or not? Is there research that's going to help prevent fungal diseases or anticipate a drought or delay rainy season onset? So we hire from agronomists to help understand understand that sector. And a lot of it, we've relied on partners like 60 Decibels to help do these third-party studies. They help us understand Net Promoter Score. So yeah, to date, we've reached, it's actually closer to 2.9 million, but he was excluding some data sets from Mali because we have integration problems with Orange Mali, but we'll talk to them about that after this. But yeah, so, and another point about that, which I think is really important, is on any given quarter, we're talking about over 600,000 paying customers. And a lot of people question, you can't really, you know, why would somebody pay for this? And our monthly churn is less than 3%. They value this service. There's a real thing. Our Net Promoter Score is 65. So another thing that we don't carry, we can't do a lot of monitoring and evaluation on our own, but a lot of our investors and partners, and when we do a project with USAID, they'll help us do this kind of evaluation. So we don't have that in-house, but we love getting the deep insights and marrying that with our human-centered design expertise.
Yeah, maybe one more. George, yeah.
This one is for Ayoola. Obviously, the fridge and cold chain market in Africa is much bigger than Koolboks. And as you're building out your data platform, you're able to also gather a lot of insightful intelligence that couldn't just be useful for your fridges, but also for other fridge manufacturers and distributors. So could you talk a bit about that market opportunity and how you're thinking about it?
Thank you very much, actually. Yeah, and that's a very good point, which I think I forgot to mention. So thanks for asking the question in that light. So we've seen that making refrigeration affordable and accessible is beyond Koolboks. It's not just about the Koolboks products that we created. If we truly mean the fact that we want to make refrigeration affordable and accessible to everyone, then we should be able to leverage on other brands. We're talking about Thermocool, we're talking about Samsung, LGs. The reason we're saying that is because people are used to such brands. All we just need to do is integrate in them our technology of the pay-as-you-go IoT technology to be able to enable them to have access to these refrigerators, which gives us a whole opportunity of access of data across sub-Saharan Africa, and which makes the business more scalable. In fact, that's our next phase of growth, and that's our next direction. And for us, we believe that offering that would not only offer insights into Koolboks refrigerators, but would also offer insights into LG refrigerators, Samsung refrigerators, which would be valuable data for these consumers and also for the manufacturers. Because as I said today, we're able to monitor the refrigerator billing. We're able to also know when the freezers are open and when they're closed. We're able to tell the humidity and even the energy consumption. These are data from about thousands of freezers across the globe from different manufacturers. And I think this is a next set of opportunity for Koolboks, basically. Thank you for that question. I don't know if I answered the question.
Great. I think we're a little over time, but thank you so much, Andrew and Ayoola, for joining us today.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Thank you.